If you are a parent, you have a child in school, if you are a school teacher, if you are a school leader, I invite you to this forum. If you are just passing through too, you can spend some time here and listen and learn from it, or perhaps share your ideas, share your experience. It is a safe place where you can share for someone to learn from your experience. And I would encourage you to share professionally, since we are all in a professional space. Our comment should be professional. It, we, it's not intended to call out names or organizations or specific schools. No, we want you to just be honest enough, but please keep the identity of whatever you are talking about. Keep it, keep it safe, keep it protected. Yes. I have two fantastic brothers on. If you are joining, you can just say a hi. I'll invite you on to join the panels, to share your view. Any input you have, you are free to come on board to give us, because we all want to learn as international teachers, as school leaders, parents. You all want to learn from each other, and most especially parents want to share with us why they will send their kids to school, and when they are sending their kids to school, what exactly do they expect the kids to know or to learn, or what they expect the schools to do for the kids. So once again, you are welcome, and do well to share the link. Share the link to invite someone to join us in this discussion. I have people joining from all over the world, from UK, from Saudi Arabia, from Asia, from Ghana. Very soon others will join us from other parts of Africa as well. So yes, we want to experience, or we want to know the experience across the globe, how parents in Africa, parents in the UK, parents in the Middle East, how they see the education of their children to be. Yes. All right. So I have a short statement or a short experience here, and I'll read it out for us to kickstart the forum or the discussion with it. And it says, a parent's view of education. So, as a parent, education is more than grades, exams, or certificates. It is about shaping the whole child. I want my child to grow not only academically, but emotionally, socially, and morally. Schools should be a place where curiosity is encouraged, confidence is built, and mistakes are treated as part of learning, not failure. I value teachers who see my child as an as an individual, not just a name on a register. When teachers communicate openly and show genuine care, it builds trust and partnership between home and school. Education works best when parents and school collaborate, sharing responsibility for a child's growth. However, many parents worry about pressure, too much testing, heavy workloads, and limited attention to well being. While academic success matters, mental health, character, and life skills matter just as much. Skills like problem solving, communication, resilience, and empathy will serve children long after exams are forgotten. From a parent's perspective, a good education prepares children not just for the next grade, but for life. It should help them discover who they are, what they love, and how they can contribute positively to society. So you can have a time to read it again if you want to, or if you have any idea or any thoughts of that before we ask specific questions. So yes, so what do we think about it? If you are following this, you can also share your view in the comment section. Yes, and I'll read out your session, your comment also, so it becomes part of what we are doing. So yes, who will kickstart? What do you think? What's your thoughts about this simple text that we have on here? Yeah. Sly, will you start, Sylvester? Because your time is just limited. You'll be off very soon. So yeah, I think you should kickstart for us. If you can hear me.
Oh yeah, sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes, you sorry, and good evening to the followers and those who are online listening as well. You
Fantastic.
are asking about my thoughts. Is that
Yes.
correct?
That's perfect.
All right. So it's a two-way thing. Um, the first one, I think the parents' view of education here generally is it's correct, but then there are a few questions also
Okay.
to be asked here
Okay.
because then yes, for the first paragraph where it says where a child I want my child to grow
Yeah.
not only academically but emotionally, socially, and morally. I think for the first two, which is emotionally and socially,
Yes.
basically the school curriculum is developed in a way to execute that aspect of education.
Okay.
The second part, it's also about, then again, it depends upon who is leading the school. It comes down to leadership.
Okay.
The last one about morally, that's actually a question that needs to be further, investigated because when it comes to moral standards, depending again on where you are coming from or where you are teaching from,
Yeah.
morals held by one, families, communities, individuals differ a bit.
Right.
And yeah, and the thing is that children learn a lot of things from home
Right.
when it comes to morals than they actually learn in school. So it raises the question of what is the mandate of school? Because I'm believing this education, we're talking about formal education, not
Absolutely.
just informal. Yeah. So it raises the question of what is the mandate of a formal education
Formal
or a school?
education.
Yes. What is the school designed to do? School basically or education is meant to build the next generation, build students who are resilient, individuals who can take decisions, individuals who can actually make the right decisions and choices as well. The issue about morally here is that you cannot put all of that on an education system
Okay.
because then the question is what is the role of the parent in all of that. So, again, who defines the standard of moral? Because, as I said, families, individuals with different perspective of what morals are. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I get what you're saying.
Yes. So, because when you use the word moral, it sounds a bit more deeper than when you talk about just maybe societal values. That's quite different. Morals go a little deeper than that, because
Okay.
morals will have some connection with people's religious background as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and and so that would actually mean that a lot of things need to be considered here. So that's it with the first part. With the second, what it says, however, many parents worry about pressure, too much testing, heavy workloads, and limited attention to well-being. That also has to be defined in context. What is the definition of too much workload here, or heavy workload?
Okay.
Yeah, that has to be also. I mean, if we have parents really expressing what they think is heavy workload, then we can understand, because sometimes it's true. I mean, students get a lot of work in terms of homework, in terms of what they have to do. But if the school has a system that works, it normally spells out exactly how homework should be issued and what the expectations should be. I mean, in places where I have worked, for example, you when you give out a homework, for example,
Yeah.
you cannot expect the homework in the next day or two. It has to be a 1 week interval. That is the policy of the school.
Okay.
And that is meant to ease pressure on the children.
Okay.
Because if you give a homework and you're expecting it the next day or two, the child probably has another homework
Right.
that is due the next day. And
Right.
that will put a lot of pressure on them.
Right.
And so that part about workload has to be further looked at. I don't know what they mean by heavy workload, and also what is the school's system policy when it comes to this homework stuff.
If I should put myself in the shoes
Yeah.
of the parent, the heavy workload would definitely be how much homework the child is bringing home, how much
Okay.
textbooks the child is carrying in the bag every
Okay.
now and then to and from school, right?
Okay.
And yeah, so I think in that picture we can see what a parent would mean by too much workload. Because aside that, if it's not the number of homework or the number of tests that the child would prepare for, let's say in a day the child is writing 3 tests out of the 5 lessons they have, you can imagine the kind of anxiety or perhaps emotional imbalances that may be running with the child whilst they prepare for the test. So yeah, I think pictures like that will fly through when we want to talk about parents saying there's a lot of workload on the child. Something like
Okay.
that.
Okay. And too much testing. It's just like, what level are we looking at here? Because again, it has to be defined. What is the age category we are looking at? Are we looking at maybe children, maybe under the age of 14, 13, or are we talking about children at the higher level? For example, near A level or SS level. What is the level we are looking at?
Right. So let's just say let's limit this to, let's say, KS3 student or KS3 KS4 student.
Okay. Okay. And okay, so that's too much testing. Right. So if there's, of course, if there's too much testing, that will put a lot of pressure on the child. But then again, some of these things, they are very difficult to actually be able to look at what is the real issue here, because it's very difficult to tell. Because I mean, people's definition of what is too much is quite different. Then again, it depends. Like I keep saying, it comes down to the structure in the school. If you work in a school, or if you are in a school that is well structured and everything is sort of scheduled with a working departmental system, and some of these issues should be addressed. because of course testing is meant to check if students are actually understanding what you're doing, if they are preparing, and especially if they are getting closer to a final exam, for example.
Right.
Testing is one of the things a student cannot really avoid.
Okay.
But then again, there should be a system in place. If there's no system, then the problem of too much testing might actually be the case. But I think the one thing that sometimes schools and teachers also we make mistake with is we test to see if there's progress.
Okay.
If you're doing a lot of testing and you're not seeing progress, the test has no meaning.
Okay.
Testing is meant to advise on the next stage of academic progress. If you're doing a lot of testing and it's not showing progress, it means that the data is not useful. You need to reconsider if testing is really worth it. What is the alternative way of helping just to ease pressure? And I think that, I mean, the generation of students we work with, we know the kind of generation we work with, and attention to detail and also the attention span is not as before. And it's not their fault. It's just technology. It's just the age we live in. And so it makes sense. And I think it comes down to, do the teachers, I mean, sometimes the teachers ourselves, do we really understand the generation we are teaching? Do we really know the students we are dealing with? And do we know some of these issues? Sometimes, sad to say, sometimes, some children may have special issues that need to be considered by schools. But then again, if such are not disclosed to the schools, then the school might not have any help. Because for all you know, some of these things, they are just some individual specific issues. It might not be like a general issue from every parent. Some parents want their children tested so many times. They are happy with that. Some don't want it. And some just have challenges as well. And so it's worth speaking to the schools and letting the schools know. But of course, too much testing is not the way to help a child. I agree if there's too much testing. And that's really not helpful as well.
Right. So, in your opinion, how would you explain a good education to be based on this? And how, in your own country, your own explanation, how would you put a good education?
Finish.
How would
A
it
school
mean
is
to
a
you?
community. Yeah. So a school is a community, and just like any community, it comes down to leadership at the end of it. So if you have a good leadership system, and then also if you have a working system in the school,
Yeah.
of course, the school in planning their curriculum, in planning activities, in planning things they have to do in an academic year, a lot of these things would already be embedded in the curriculum.
Right.
So how do you help a child develop skill, problem solving skill? How do you develop a child's communication? How do you build resilience in children? And also those kind of things. How do you really build that? So it comes down to, if it's all about just teaching, testing, then children might do well in exam, but they will lack a lot of social skill. To what extent are there enrichment programs? To what extent are there other, activities that are designed to help the children to actually develop their skill?
Okay.
And that is what a school is. Children spend most of their time in school. The rest of the hours they spend in the house is really just for a few things. And so the school, I agree, must build them in these areas, because trust me, a lot of these parents are too busy. Sadly, they are too busy to do that. And so unfortunately, the school has to do it.
Right. So in this case, don't you think that so you agree to the fact that if a child is having like 3-4 tests in a day out of the 5 lessons, it's a lot?
Is that if it's scheduled, mine is if it's scheduled, if it's timetabled, and if this has been communicated ahead, that maybe around, let's say, March is a time the school conducts tests.
Okay.
Students know this, parents know this. But not the case when a child comes to school and then he's told or she's told he's got a test, like they've got 3 tests, 2 tests. Of course, definitely they will start having anxieties.
So even if you agree, or your point is that if it's scheduled, it's okay.
If it's scheduled, and of course, it gives people time to plan. Anxieties come when there's limited planning sometimes.
Okay.
So, if there's enough time given for them to plan, parents are aware, parents have supported them, then of course they will be probably be able to face the exam. But
Yeah.
where there is nothing, it
And in
just
this case, the
doesn't work.
parents supporting them, they get to complain that there's too much work. So if I have a child, for example, if my child is in KS4, KS3, and has three tests, I'm helping the child through the three tests in a night. I think it would be a lot of work to do. And I kind of understand your point when you say planning. Is it the planning on the side of the student or on the side of the teacher?
So planning both sides, because when schools plan a timetable or a schedule in school, it's communicated to parents. So parents would have an idea that there's an assessment around this time of the year.
Yeah.
So they should be aware. And you, as a student, you also need to be aware that you have an assessment around this time of the year. So it's not a case of you are not aware or you are not informed. Again, what is the age of the child? That's the question I always keep coming back to. Are
Okay.
they matured enough to take 4 tests in a day? And again, what is the volume of the test? So how do you ease pressure? If you're just doing a topical test, it's just probably sometimes worth letting the students know it's just on this topic or that topic. It eases the pressure on them. You are not punishing them with a test. You are just assessing their learning. So I think that it's all about the way it's communicated.
Right.
For anxieties, there would always be anxiety at some point. It's part of it. It's about how you manage it.
Right.
And that's what it is.
I agree with your point that says if there's lack of preparation, there will definitely
Yeah.
be anxiety. I perfectly agree with you. Let me, Terry, what do you think on this? Let me hear from you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. It's quite insightful, the text that you've shared. And Sylvester has rightly made lots of solid points. So I'm sure mine is not going to be so lengthy. Looking at the second paragraph, for instance, I noticed that parental expectation has a lot to do with feedback. You know, there's some form of, as a basic principle of education, there's a triadic relationship between the parent, the teacher, and then the student. And so in this feedback loop, parents expect that there's that partnership. They are informed. I remember a case where many years ago when I started off as a professional teacher in my first school. My parent attended open day and was now letting the parent know that, okay, your son has a ton of homework he had not completed, this and that behavior has also gone south, and so it's getting in the way of his progress. And I've not forgotten this incident to date. And the parent straight away asked me, why have I waited to this point to let him know? So feedback is important right from the start of the school year. There should be a system where parents are kept in the loop. Parents should be an email away. I remember a system where I used in my former school. Parents were just an email away. You could let them know that the child is sleeping at this point. Your child has made this progress, and most of the time, as teachers too, we focus on contacting parents when there's negative feedback, when there's something negative about the student to say, like the student is sleeping or um, behavior is not the best, But one other important thing we need to also know is that parents must be informed when the students also make strides, they are making progress, in any small way, because Um, if you make reference to, let's say, testing, and then it is rightly balanced. The data from the testing is supposed to inform decision making. So if a student makes progress, or let's say behavior has improved, that is if you have something like a behavior tracker and you notice behavior improvement, parents are supposed to be, informed right away. So that this also has a way of being a positive reinforcement, to the parent themselves to encourage their children or their wards to do the very best. So parents really, really, really expect feedback from school. Shouldn't only be when there's parent teacher conference, but throughout the school year, they must be kept in the loop. And if I shift to the last paragraph, um, the parental perspective, a good education prepares children for life. That is very important, you know. But then it depends on which part of the world we are talking about.
Okay.
In an African setting, obviously, excuse me to say, because life chances are low and the rate of poverty are really high. Usually, emphasis is on passing the exam, and students are rewarded for being able to memorize information and producing them. So the best students are people who can, retain the information, produce it on paper, and then that's it. Okay, and usually to the assessment, usually test knowledge and understanding, barely evaluation, barely the ability to, create and develop something. But in other parts of the world, parents really want these students to have skills for life, knowledge, skills, and attitudes that they'll carry through life. Where I find myself currently, the typical African mentality of I'm bringing my child to school so that he gains the knowledge and skills required to get a good job and then, be useful in society. It's not the case in other parts of the world. Where I find myself now, parental expectation or parental view of education is that we are bringing our children to school to come and socialize and form strong social connections. In sociology, we call that social capital. Build that social capital that they would need for life because they believe these are very wealthy parents, who believe by their children connecting right from school and right from school, they will leave school with this social capital, and then in future, they'll develop business ideas, hangouts, come up with multi-million ideas, that will turn out as business ideas. So if you compare it to what we typically know as a parental view of education, it's very different from what we know. So it's very much dependent on which part of the world we are talking about.
Right. So we
And
not to
so
cut you.
we must parents expect that by the time their wards leave school, they have built soft skills like problem solving, like confidence in speaking, things like public speaking, creativity skills, and all that. These are things they will carry through life, and with these kind of knowledge and skills, they will be able to solve the problems they encounter on a daily basis. Let me still bring this down to our daily lives, back home in Ghana and then other parts of Africa. In Ghana specifically, I remember instances where our parents question us when we do certain things. Your parents can ask you, I don't think a schoolboy should do this, or I don't think somebody who is receiving education should do this. You
Yeah.
see, the other side of it is that they are thinking that once you are schooled, once you're educated, you are supposed to exhibit certain qualities. You are supposed to use the knowledge and skills you have to solve problems that you encounter. But most of the time, um, students, feel like, the kind of education we receive prepares us just for the the classroom, just for the school setting, and then the students are unable to apply these things in real life, you know. And so parents expect that, okay, if you've been taught to solve a certain problem in the classroom, okay, when you come to real life, you may face a similar challenge, and so you should be able to use, the knowledge and skills you've acquired to try and work your way around it. That is the whole purpose of education, and what parents, expect that education should do
Right.
for their children.
Right. So
Yeah.
with your submission, Terry,
Yes.
um, in a way, you have given an idea of how education is perceived in the area you find yourself in,
Yes.
and you have given your experience when you were in Ghana or when you were in Africa. So, to you, where you find yourself now, how would you explain a good education to a parent, or in a parent's perspective, where you find yourself? How can we explain good education?
Okay. So I think it's not so different from some of the things you've rightly stated here. Okay. It's about what the student will leave the school setting or the classroom setting with. It's about the kind of skills my child can exhibit, outside the classroom, how my child can apply the things he or she has learned in school in solving daily life problems. For example, at home, there's a basic problem. How can we go about this? The child being able to think around the problem, and even attempt at finding a solution to it, based on the setting. So, um, from my perspective, a parent would think that the education the child is receiving, or yeah, is what a child is receiving, should be relevant to the kind of setting he or she finds himself in, so that he or she will be able to find to use these knowledge and attitudes and whatever to solve daily problems. It's not like going to school and thinking that all you've learned is only useful for the exam you're writing, for that physics, for that chemistry exam you're writing, and then that's it. And not being able to apply it in real life, it's a challenge. So they must see the practical application of these things, and interests and attitudes being built in school, that they can carry through for life. I remember that there's this video I watched. There's this top celebrity, top musician in England, and I think she went to sing somewhere, and then she was asked about her best moments in school, and the lady said her best moments were the times she spent with her English teacher. I've forgotten the name she mentioned. Her English teacher really, really shaped her. And this lady is a musician, and she's applying, using this knowledge she got from literature, from reading, from the basic English, to sort of apply, make it useful as far as her talent is concerned. And there's a typical example of practical usefulness of education. So it should be able to help the child solve problems beyond the classroom or beyond the school setting, basically. Yeah.
Right. So, do they lay more emphasis on developing their social network, or
Exactly. So, yes, building the social capital, forming these kind of social circles, because they believe that at the end of education, these are the same people who will meet and come up with multi-million dollar ideas, businesses, in leadership, run the country, and all that. So once you get to know each other and they are comfortable with each other's set of skills, it will be easy for them to, work in future
okay?
and network.
So, to what
physically.
extent do they get involved with the child's education?
Well, it depends. There's some form of a barrier. There's some form of a barrier. It's very difficult to directly have access to a parent, except for the open day. Uh, but a few of them are really, really, really concerned because once again, there's a lot of money involved in the fees and that. So a few of them, they come for open day and then you interact with them. They emphasize the fact that keep me in the loop, keep me informed. And so for some of them, the moment try to raise the, you try to alert them, okay, I'm going to email your dad or email your mom that you're delaying in submitting your homework or something. Quickly, they get it done because they know how involved their parents are in the education. So some of them go the extent of calling you. Some of them will send you emails, schedule extra meetings with you outside of the regular parent-teacher meeting schedules, just so they get to know the progress of their children.
Right,
Yes, but that is just just a handful. But many of them are not too involved. There's some form of apathy.
right.
They just sit on the fence. Yes, and, they are okay with whatever their children churn out at the end of the school year or something. Yeah.
Right. So in that case, how well? Let me put this out for everyone to make an attempt. How well do we expect schools to be involved in the child's emotional and social development?
Well, this is also a very important aspect. As far as safeguarding is concerned, it's very, very important because when it comes to emotions, we know that if the student is not emotionally stable, it will take a toll on almost everything else the child is doing. So the school must be involved. There's a reason why in proper school settings, especially with my experience from the British education system, there's something called PSHE, which I'm sure you're widely informed about. It talks about where their thoughts, physical, social, health, education, and these things combined have a positive effect on their emotions and then also helps build social skills. I remember in my former school, some of the topics that we talked about ranges from abuse, to safeguarding in general, to handling money, to puberty, to changes. And you see, education is supposed to be holistic. Should develop the heart, the mind, and then also the hands. If you look at
Okay.
that, is the cognitive, the affective, the
Okay.
psychomotor one. So if the education is one way, only building the academic aspect, it's not holistic enough. It's just preparing people for white collar jobs,
Okay.
and it's not really making them balanced people because at the end of the day, this student or this child should grow up to become an adult who can be a global citizen or fit into any community he or she finds himself in. Yeah.
Right. Let me go to Elijah. What do you think? To what extent, or yes, to what extent, or how well do schools have to support emotional and social development of students? With your experience and probably where you are now, if there's something you want to add up to what Terry has said.
Um, Hello to everyone. So for me and what I've seen over the period, I think that schools must create an environment where every child feels safe. Once the child feels safe in being in that space, it gives him or her the opportunity to communicate what is troubling them emotionally and so on. And the child should also see the school taking action against certain behaviors. If a child is bullied and the child reports, the child must see that action is taken. If nothing is done after 1 week, after 2 weeks, the child will probably feel unsafe in that environment and probably might withdraw from taking certain activities or engaging with friends and all those things. So, yes, the school environment must support, uh, must be safe for the students to thrive within that environment, and also they must see that action is taken against negative behaviors or bullying or whatever actions that the school itself frowns upon. So if those things are put in place, yes. And in taking those decisions, I think as soon as possible, once an incident occurs, parents should be brought to the picture. Once that collaboration goes on, I think that the child will feel protected, willing to go about their activities without any fear of or intimidation.
Okay, right, right. So, do you agree with what Terry was saying? Everything that he was mentioning. Do you have any other thing to perhaps support or any other view?
If you can help me with some of the things he said,
Yeah.
because
So
I joined a bit late.
he was talking about PSHE classes for students where the student get to learn about themselves and their colleagues and all that. Yeah. Is there anything like that? Have you come across anything like that where you've been?
Okay, so you see, schools up to the level of, let's say, secondary, is largely driven by academics. But from experience and the people that we've encountered in the past, there are students who are not academically sound. And the point is, how do we ensure that these students go through the school system? And secondly, the point is that it's not everyone that you find in school, it's not every student that you find in school that is there for, good grades or no. Others are there for connections. And from where we are coming from, there were parents who were willing to take their kids out of the school simply because the space of their friendship is just limited to about 2 or 3 students. And so, because the numbers are limited and their social life is kind of limited to all those people, they wanted to take them out to bigger spaces so that they can network.
Right.
And parents have come up to a point where financial support, or having the financial base, is not really a big deal for them because they can support their kids financially even if they decide not to go to school. But the point is, whether you go to school or not, you still need people in your future life. And if you have people in influential positions, that can help smoothing out your course of living or your course of life. And so everyone is looking for that sort of socialization so that their kids are connected to very high top or high officials in society, people who matter in society and all that. And that is something we cannot take out. And so we should also see that as one of the reasons why people take their kids to school. And if that is done, I'm sure we'll be able to have or go through the process without forcing everyone to eat the same food when they don't really want to eat that food.
Right. So in that case, um, if I'm sending my child to school, what should I expect?
You see, at the beginning, if you are taking your child to school as a parent, unfortunately, some of us haven't gotten there yet. But
Yeah,
from
you are
what we have
telling us
experienced,
in the capacity of a teacher, of an experienced teacher. Yeah. So what should
okay,
I or what
so
should a parent expect when they are sending their ward or their child, their kid to school?
I, I think you should have a picture in mind about what you want for your child. That is
Give
key.
us an example of that picture in your explanation.
I mean, like I'm saying, if it is that you just want your child to be connected to, some influential individuals or develop a very strong social network, that is something you should be able to communicate. If it is that you want your child at that stage, at that very young stage, the child might not know what they want to be in future or whatever profession they want to take. Even some of the older folks or students at a point in time, some of them cannot even tell you what they want to be in future. So it is the responsibility of you, the parent, to have a certain picture about the child in mind. Now, that picture can be shaped with your collaboration with the teachers. So, as a teacher, I may see a child in a particular way, and based on that, I can then advise that this is how I see a child. But the ultimate responsibility or decision lies with the parent. If the parent is also kind of not sure, then that collaboration must go on to shape the future of the child. But if the parent has a certain picture about the child, and the child also has a certain picture about his life, and the teacher on the other hand also has a certain picture about the child, then it becomes difficult to kind of team up to support the child to grow.
Right. Right. Thanks so much. Sylvester, if you are
And
on,
one more thing,
right.
one more thing, once the child is able to define where they want to be, I think we can, if we are not sure as a parent or as a teacher, if you are not sure, we can engage the child and ask questions and maybe give the child that space of time to also think through whilst we give guidance. But to completely quash that future or that plan or that mentality the child has, or say words that completely discourages a child, it becomes very difficult for the child to now express himself or be innovative or be creative about whatever that they are doing. Especially in where we are coming from, we have had cases where parents decide what a child should become. Their decision, the decision of the child or the way of the child becomes a very difficult situation. I had an encounter with a student who said that he wanted to do ICT or AIT, and the
IT.
parents forced him to do mathematics. So he doesn't care if he fails. I mean, he's just doing it for his parents. He doesn't really care. And that is something parents must begin to look at going forward.
Right. So, in your opinion, if such a child comes to you? Or is there any case you've encountered multiple of those children, and what did you do to help them? What I'm asking is that in what way do you as a teacher help to bring out the values in the children, or how do you help the child to come out of such situations?
All right. So such cases is a bit difficult, quite worrying. But what I did in that situation is to try and then engage the parent to let them understand that you see, trying to force the child to do what you want the child to do is kind of a bit of a challenge. Why not sit down with the child and then discuss? Have that conversation, then invite the teacher. Then two of you will try and talk it out. But sometimes when they are passionate about it, as a parent, I would advise, and in such cases, I tell them, just guide them to do what they are doing. Just guide them to do what they are doing. Support them. Let them, once it is not a bad profession or it's not anything, no, support them to do what they are doing.
Before I let you go, just two more questions and we will end the session very soon. It's in the comment section. I've posted it there for anybody to share their opinion about these two questions. What role should parents play in supporting learning at home without adding pressure? And also, if we could change one thing about the current education system, what would you change?
I will add, push for the fact that parental involvement in our school system should be enhanced.
Right, parental involvement should be enhanced. In what way? Can you give us, let's say, one or two ways this can be done?
Yes. One, we should be able to, parents should be involved in the future decisions of the child. One. Two, they should be available, especially school gatherings and meetings and whatever, and be ready to know what is happening to their children at any given point in time.
Okay.
And they should be part of decision making as far as the school system is concerned. You have your child in the school, and when certain decisions are being taken, you are not part, you are not involved.
Okay.
And they call you, you are not present. This is what is happening to your child. And no, I think that those things should be looked at again.
Okay.
And parents should be more consistent in the schools rather than leave the school for students and teachers.
Right. Thank you. That's insightful. And I'm reading your responses, Rita. You said the content of the curriculum should be more practical. Okay, that's what you would change about the current school system. And then the second response, you said parents should find out what the weak subjects of the children are and give them more assistance. What if the weak subject, let's say, is general science, and the parent have limited knowledge of that? How are they going to help? So can you say something about that? And
like Chris.
yes.
Yes. So I think it's if it's okay, I would like to make some remarks on the first question.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I think the first one you asked, what can parents do to support children in school or actually at home?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's very challenging. Again, depending on what part of the world we're talking about. I will start with I mean, of course, we a lot of us here, probably all of us,
Yeah.
we were educated in Ghana. We got trained in Ghana, and we've worked in other parts as well. And if I'm comparing how things work in the different parts, probably of the world in terms of education, I think the one thing that kind of surprised me when I moved out of Ghana, especially to work here in the UK,
Yeah.
was the fact that the school systems were very designed to suit something. I never really understood why they were always fixated on that. But then over time, I came to understand. And that was one thing that was really missing in what we do in Ghana.
Okay.
One thing here is about having consistent routines.
Okay.
It's one thing, let's say my experience out here, I've come to understand. It plays key role
Okay.
in easing pressure on children and making education more useful and less of a pressure to the children. Children of this generation, I mean, per the generation we work with, they sort of are kind of very disorganized.
Yeah.
And yes, and also because life is not the same for them as it was for us when we were growing up. So the one thing parents can do at home is to have consistent routine established for the students.
Okay.
Now, what do I mean by a consistent routine? A consistent routine here means that in supporting your child, a child must have a time they wake up in the morning, and this must be a consistent time. They must have a time they leave school, they leave home for school. And when they do come home, they must know exactly that when I get to the house, in 1 hour time or two, this is what I'll be doing.
Right.
And also they must have a time when they do homework. So if these routines are established, the children are trained with the routine, they become used to the routine.
Right.
Now, once a child has a consistent routine, it eases pressure on them.
Right.
Because even at work, sometimes I just try to take out a few routine and see how students behave. And the moment you take a routine or two out of what you do with them normally, they get confused.
Right.
So I began to realize that, okay, so this is how things work out with this particular set of students. There must be a routine for them to follow. And that is one thing you can do. Once there is a routine, they learn the skill of organization. They know how to organize their materials. They know when or how or when they have to attend an assignment. And the second thing, which unfortunately I don't think I ever probably had that growing up. It doesn't mean probably our parents were just mean towards us, maybe because they didn't get that themselves. It's the concept of emotional support.
Okay.
Because a child is already under pressure in school, a child is not doing well in school. Maybe they are trying, maybe they just confused, maybe they just not getting the concept, maybe they are just not even understanding the whole purpose of the education they are going through. The grades are dropping, the scores are dropping, they are not doing well. They have already received enough backlash from their teachers. But what were we getting from our parents when we get home? It's even worse. So, how do you support a child? So, you need to provide that emotional support for the child, making the child understand that you are actually there to help them, making them understand you understand their struggles. It's not always about telling them off, it's about being empathetic, showing them some empathy, make them know you actually care. Because when they know you are coming from a place of genuine care for them, then they are willing to take the advice that you give to them. So it's all about the emotional support you provide at home for the children. This is very important when it comes to managing the children and also easing pressure on them. Because if you just go to tell them off and just be too hard on them because you've paid fees and you think you bought books, you bought shoes for them, and they are not doing their best, they should do their best, automatically, you are going to crush them. You have to support them emotionally. It doesn't mean pampering them and making them not do well, but just show that, that sense of empathy, that sense of I care
Right.
and I'm trying to support you here. You don't have to know science, like you said. You don't have to know science. You don't have to know maths. You don't have to know anything to be able to support your child.
Okay.
It's just about what kind of advice, what can I do to help the child? Can I help the child be able to organize their materials? Can I help them be able to organize their learning space at home?
Right.
What can I do for them? At least, can I check on them? Did you have a homework? Have you done it? Did you have any challenge? Those kind of things. Just make the child know that, oh, my parents are just looking out for me. You don't have to know science. I don't have to. But that could be a way of supporting them.
Fantastic. Thank you. Two things you've mentioned here. You talk about helping the child to be organized and also being there for them, supporting them emotionally. I think it makes a big difference. Perhaps is the reason why in British schools you would notice that they want their lessons to be structured in a certain way, and that structure is supposed to run through almost all the subjects. It should be uniform through all the subjects. And when that is done, the child knows that from this slide to the other, they know what they should expect, right? They know, they clearly understand that if a teacher should put up the first question in the lesson, you are supposed to do that question in silence. If within the lesson, they know that they are going to think and share with themselves, with their friends, and then give the teacher a response. So they know the structure of the lessons even before they enter the classroom. And I think what you said, you've drawn our attention to something that should run through our schools. That is, it's very important, and thank you for that. And as well as the emotional support. I've known a parent some time ago where this person is so busy, very important person, so busy, but he still had time out of the busy schedule to attend to the children and make sure their academics, their emotions are on point. Thank you, Sylvester, for drawing our attention to this. Parents, teachers, school leaders, and the students themselves, when we work together, we are able to succeed together. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that has been here from the beginning, even if you join along this way. Thank you very much for being part of today's discussion. Next week there's going to be a different topic. Just stay tuned. Try to share the link. Try to like the session. We will become more visible for people to come on board and join. We will be having fantastic people as well. We will have a number of resource persons come across to help us understand the school system so we can all learn something new. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
A moment ago,